on the agenda and any topics, and as the topics are discussed throughout the evening. Please address your comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. So if you have any public comments, please come forward. Doesn't look like we have any, so we'll move on to old business.
Still can't hear us.
Okay. I will speak loud because I don't think the mics are working, okay? Any old business? No old business. New business. First item, discussion and action to appoint one person to the Montgomery County Juvenile Community Corrections Board, serving until June 3rd of 2019. We have Mr. James Littlefield here to tell us about himself.
I guess I'll start with my name since it's Littleford, not Field.
Oh, Littleford, I'm sorry.
It's all right. My name is James Littleford. I'm the assistant principal at Roosevelt Middle School. I've served on this board for the previous 3 years and submitted my application to continue serving on it for the next 3 years as well.
Jimmy, what do you enjoy? What makes this something that you want to come back to?
Oh, hand in hand with what I do all day. I mean, obviously I deal with junior high students all day, and those are the students, some of them that I see as the assistant principal dealing with discipline are the ones who also, from time to time, have dealings with the justice system as well. So it's hand in hand with what I do for a living.
So your job, to explain to some of us that don't know, just in brief, what is this? What do you do here?
I'm the assistant principal. I deal primarily with the discipline of students. If they are considered something a teacher can't handle, it comes to me. Students who are truant, who don't attend school regularly, comes across my desk. I also do teacher evaluations and other day-to-day business for the middle school.
Okay, James, good. Okay, any other questions or anything?
No.
Okay. Thank you,
You're welcome. Thank you.
James.
Move to approve James Littleford for the Community Corrections Board, Juvenile
Second.
Division.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to appoint James Littleford to a new 3-year term on the Montgomery County Juvenile Community Corrections Board, serving to June 30th, 2019. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye. All right, we'll move on to, are the mics working yet? Probably not.
No, I had someone say no sound.
Okay. We'll move on to number 2, is Resolution R-16-84. It's a resolution to execute a construction contract with Jeff Graham Construction for the 2016 intersection and drainage improvement project, and Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne is here to make comments.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. The next 2 items are kind of hand in hand. The past 4 or 5 years, we've been working to improve the drainage and just in general, some of the worst intersections in town, to just improve them so that A, we get proper drainage, and B, they're a smoother ride for our citizens. We opened bids on May 26th. Jeff Graham Construction was the low bid. He's done 2 of the previous intersection projects, and he's just finishing up with one last year's actually. He was low bid, came in with and this is for all. We have 4 intersections this year. 2 were base bid and 2 were alternates. We're recommending to do all 4. We have it in the budget. He came in at $241,368.20 as the base bid plus both additives. We'd recommend.
Is that for how many?
That's for 4. We have 3 full intersections this year, and then 1 which would be swell, or essentially half an intersection.
So just so that people know, it was rounded off in thousands. It was 241, you say?
241,000.
241. What were the next bids?
The next bid would be smaller construction at 272.
How many bids did we get?
We had 3 bids total,
Okay.
and
So he saved us about $31,000. That's good for the public to know, local contractor and everything, I
Save-
think.
You save more than that, Jim.
That's,
It's in your email, there's
okay.
140,000.
It was 241 was his bid, and the next one, I thought you said it was 272.
272, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good enough. It's just, it's good to know local contractors saving us some money and getting the work. But anyway, thank you. I'll go ahead.
Like I said, we recommend approval for all 4 intersections to be
Okay.
completed this.
Any questions? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution R16-84 for adoption. Do one at a time, right? Okay. You guys all right?
Is there a second?
And a
Second.
Okay.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Williams to approve resolution number R-16-84 for adoption. That will be all 4 intersections, and the total amount will be $241,368.20. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Okay, again, another resolution, number R-16-85, to a resolution to execute an agreement with Algier Martin and Associates for the construction intersection of the 2016 Intersection and Drainage Improvement Project.
Thomas, I got one more question before we move on.
Uh-huh.
Is he going to work on 8th and Washita at the same time he's working on 9th and Washita?
No, I believe 8th and Washita is probably last, was it last on the priority list, I believe?
I just wondered, it'll be
Yeah.
a mess.
We'll be starting probably, Second and Grant would be ripped out, and then we have water line replacements to do. And so he'll move off of there and go to another intersection, I believe, Wilshire and Fairway,
All right, thank you.
then come back, so.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, now, I just read the resolution to execute that agreement with Algier Martin. You want to tell us about that, Thomas?
But like I said, this ties in hand with the intersection project. Alger Martin and Associates has been designing our intersections. We also have been hiring them to do our construction inspection. They do concrete testing, any field adjustments for something that was missed can be made a lot easier because it's the same person doing the inspections as it was to do the actual design. So we recommend Alger Martin to approve a work authorization in the not-to-exceed amount of $74,740 for construction engineering.
And did we get other bids, just so the public will know, did we get other bids?
We haven't done bids for this. We actually have a standing hourly work agreement with Alger Martin. Again, they did all the design work. That's why we have them.
They've worked for us for a long time, huh? Okay. Any questions? I'd make a motion to approve Resolution R-16-85 for adoption.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-16-85 for adoption. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Okay, number 4, resolution number R-16-86 is a resolution to execute change order number 1 with Nowak Construction, if I'm saying that right, for the 9th Street Water Main Replacement Project. Waterworks Director Chuck Shively will make comments.
Vice Mayor and Commissioners, last February, the City Commission awarded a construction contract to Nowak Construction for replacement of the water main under 9th Street from Harding Street to Hall Street, relocating the main behind the curb out from under the street surface. This project is one of 4 projects currently underway simultaneously on 9th Street in the area from Willow Street to Hall Street. All 4 projects were bid and awarded based on unit prices bid times the estimated quantities to be installed. This change order modifies the final contract price of the No-Walk Waterline project to reflect unit prices bid times the actual quantities installed. The original contract was awarded in the total amount of $425,020.20. The change order reduces that amount by $9,625, making the final project cost $415,395.20. Unit price contracts, like all 4 that are currently underway on 9th Street, almost always have a final quantity change order to adjust the estimated quantities in the bid to the actual quantities installed. Sometimes it's a decrease like this one, and sometimes it's an increase. I do want to let you know that although we always try to keep the costs down on projects wherever possible, the other 3 construction projects on 9th Street currently will most likely have increased final quantity change orders due to subsurface conditions, number of trees that needed to be removed, things like that. But those change orders will be brought to you individually as those contracts are completed. For tonight, I recommend that you approve this resolution authorizing execution of change order number 1 to the construction contract with No-Walk Construction Company Incorporated for the 9th Street Water Main Replacement Project, reducing the contract price by $9,625. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to know how the 9th Street project going overall. Maybe we can talk to it about after we vote for this.
We had a meeting just today, and it looks like if all goes right and if it doesn't keep raining every other day, they're going to lay some asphalt from Willow Street to Reed Street next week.
Good.
And then the rest of the intersections are already completed that are going to be done, so then it'll just be finishing the sidewalks and the driveway entrances. Then they'll come back and do the final asphalt from Reed Street to Hall Street.
Chuck, there were some issues with some holes and work that needed to be done in some weak spots. Did that get resolved?
That will be, most likely will be part of the increase on the final quantity change order on Bryant and Bryant's construction contract. When they peeled off that asphalt, there were a lot more old water line breaks, or just the condition of the subsurface in general. Gillum Street, that entire intersection was a mess once they pulled the asphalt off, which it didn't look good before, but once you got the asphalt off, it was cheaper just to totally rebuild the intersection
I
with
gotcha.
concrete.
Okay, typical construction.
Yeah. You don't know what's under there till you remove the cover.
Thank you, Chuck. Any questions?
Move to approve resolution R-16-86.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-16-86 for adoption. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Okay, number 5 is a resolution number R-16-87. It's a resolution to purchase a rescue pumper fire truck for the fire department. Fire Chief James Grimmett will make comments.
Vice Mayor and Commissioners, we come to you tonight asking your permission to replace a 31-year-old pumper. We want to purchase a new rescue pumper. About 2.5 years ago, I put together a committee, and it was made up of every rank in the fire station. Captain Roski was on it, lieutenant, the driver, and a firefighter. Those guys toured manufacturing facilities, of course, of no cost to us. And out of that tour, they created specifications for a rescue pumper. We sent out specifications, and those bids were turned back in March the 21st. And we had originally required the price to be good for 60 days, so that we can bring it to you. But since then, we've delayed, and we've gotten price guarantees up to 120 days, so that's the reason why it's coming to you now. Throughout the year, they usually undergo at least 2 or 3 price increases, and they have undergone one since we had originally gotten a price quote. When the bids were returned back in, only 2 of them met the specs. And so Smil was the low bidder. And we're asking for your permission to purchase that low bid price at $502,590. Now, once that's done, we will solicit financing. The finance director would solicit financing for that. And then we'll bring that package back to you for approval. And in that process, we will include local financial institutions. You have in your packet an example of a lease purchase option. If the truck was even ordered today, you're looking at anywhere from 390 days on out before we take delivery. So Stephanie can talk about the funding, where that's coming from, if she would.
Okay. I'd like to, okay, go ahead, Stephanie. Go ahead, Stephanie.
This will be financed out of the capital equipment fund, which is funded by the, a percent of the sales tax. 20% of a half-cent sales tax goes into a capital equipment fund. That will be used to pay the lease payments on the fire truck. And as he said, if this is approved this evening, we'll send out an RFP to area banks and leasing institutions and they'll send back bids, and we'll go through those and assess which one is most cost efficient for us and go that route. But we will bring that package then back to you for approval.
Okay.
And the city currently, we don't have a vehicle replacement plan. So in the past, what the fire department has done is, because all the general fund departments have to compete for all this for this little bit of money. So when we purchased our last fire truck in 2011, we didn't have time to create specifications for that. We had to buy what we call one off the shelf. It was a demo unit. And because we waited until the truck that we had was in such bad shape, we couldn't hardly give it away. But this 1985, it has an open cab configuration. It's unsafe for firefighters to ride in the back. As a matter of fact, I've prohibited firefighters from riding in the back because it's open. It has a lap belt for security, and the NFPA recommends that we don't ride in the back of that. I'll entertain any questions that you have. Captain Roski was a part of that committee if you've got any technical questions.
Okay.
This funding is coming from you said earlier, the half-cent sales tax for capital improvement. That's part of a larger fund that is from the sales tax that's generated. 80% of that goes to the municipal.
70% goes to the
Is it
municipal building project.
Okay, 70.
20 for the capital equipment and 10 for economic development.
Okay.
Okay.
And then everybody competes in the city, more or less, to and I wouldn't say compete, but the
I like that word. Go ahead.
the equipment from replacement from every department in the city comes from that 20%.
With the exception of utilities, they have their own funding mechanisms for equipment
Because they
replacement.
they're a profit generating
Right.
department. Okay.
So that 20%, if I may interrupt you, 20% is how much money? I wish we'd talked about this a little last night in budget.
171,000 is typically what it brings in.
A year? For the whole 20%?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're showing as a 2017 projection.
So the percentage of that whole thing, will that tax pay for this whole truck?
Yes.
Okay,
Over the years of the lease, it would.
okay.
And that still leaves money left over for other departments to
Yes.
fund their equipment.
we've purchased equipment in this same fashion in the past. Our current ladder truck was purchased that way, and I'm not sure if our engine 2 was purchased the same way.
Yeah, it comes out of these funds as well.
You know, any other questions?
When the Blue Ribbon panel was going through and talking about getting this new standalone, one of the questions was, is it big enough that the fire trucks nowadays are going to be too big? If in the 390 days happens and we haven't got the standalone built for some reason, are you going to be able to house it?
This truck will fit into that building.
What happened to the truck that was too big?
That was a ladder truck. And ladder trucks are taller, longer. And I know the general public just hears fire truck, but I'm on video saying a ladder truck will not fit into this station.
Okay. Well, I've talked a little bit to you about it, James. I've talked a little bit to one of the commissioners, and we talked about this recently. And I'm a little uncomfortable. I might vote for it, I might not. Haven't really made up my mind at this second. But we're spending a lot of money as a city, and
You realize you can't spend this money for
Right.
anything else,
except other things,
for other vehicles.
other vehicles.
Or equipment.
Or equipment. So, you know,
I mean, the voters passed this half-cent sales tax with those stipulations for things like this.
well, let me ask you this, James. I got a couple questions. The truck that we're using, is it going to quit? This is replacing a truck properly, correctly?
Right, it's replacing, as I said, started to say, the city doesn't have a vehicle replacement plan because we don't have the funding for that.
Right.
So what we will do is this truck will be used every day on every call, including the industrial park. So and what we'll do is slide down the other trucks that we have. So we'll decommission the 31-year-old truck. The engine 2 now that has approximately 90-some thousand miles on it, it will go into reserve. And the first out truck now will be the second out truck, which means it will respond to all structure fires.
Has this new truck which tier motor has it got in it for? Tier 4? It's got, I mean, I know that's, and the reason I'm asking, I see the fire department driving around and to lunch and different things while they're on duty, so they can respond. I understand that. I wonder, and we have not talked about this, I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I just wondered, is that going to be good on that new motor, the new Tier 4 motor, to do that? That's a question. It's another topic, but
Fire trucks are built to go from 0 to whatever you need it to go to. I mean, that's how they run. That's how we operate.
yeah, I know we're having a lot of problems with our new trucks idling. And they want you to, keep the motor up at high speed, some things. That's a topic we can talk about later. It's another issue, but.
They do want you to, when we go out, we may get an alarm and go about 2 blocks and get canceled from that alarm. They do want you to bring those trucks up to temperature, because you can cause damage by not doing that. We had a $15,000 in-frame engine repair for our ladder truck because we were trying to save pennies. Like when we pull them out in the morning and we let them idle, we were told to turn them off.
There's a lot of things going on with that, and we might have to rethink our policy. We can talk about it later. The new engine, I just came across my mind, but.
This truck is also going to be the first out truck, right?
Right. It's
That
to be
means
used
that-
on every call.
That means that truck's going to be responding to ambulance calls.
Yes.
That truck's going to be responding to major accidents throughout the city, as well as the southern half of Montgomery County for JAWS.
Yes.
Okay, that truck's going to be responding to the industrial park in the event of a structure fire out there of a industrial business.
Correct.
That'll be the first truck that shows up.
It's a first out truck. It's
And
a
this
first
truck-
out unit.
This truck is going to replace the truck that is how old?
31.
Okay. So,
In the end, in the slide, that's what we do. We get rid of a 31-year-old truck.
so then.
So we're trying to, in a way, kind of create a replacement plan so that we don't always wait until the last minute. And when we pay for it over time, well, then those are things that can be budgeted, and you can plan for those.
And there's still money left over in that fund for other departments to adequately purchase their equipment.
These first 2 years in 17 and 18, expenditures will exceed the revenues, but there's a fund balance there of $250,000. It gets down to 172 by the end of 18, but then that reverses based on the requests that departments have turned in, and that fund balance then starts to grow again.
Okay. And then,
I might add, the truck that we're paying for Engine 2 now, it will be paid off in 2018.
and what is the current payment on that?
38,000.
Yeah, 38,000
A month,
a year.
a year? Okay. I thought it was a crane for a minute, sorry.
And that's why you see, in the lease purchase example, they make allowances for that payment that we're already making. So the financial package can be arranged so that we won't exceed an amount. And it could be, I don't know, 60,000 maybe, something to that effect.
Well, I'll say this, there's been some talk about it, and one of the reasons I wanted this job and wanted to do this so I could learn, and all this money come from these different funds is a little confusing to me, but Stephanie, you're saying that the money's there as our financial person, and we talked about it a little bit. I think Kendall and I, we talked about it once very briefly, or we talked about it in the past, and we talked about maybe not doing this till we got our fire station built to see where we're on funds.
But we can't use this money for the fire station.
They're not interchangeable.
In a normal business, you'd be figuring a way out to conserve and make sure you had enough money. That's my point,
Well,
okay? But
to reassure you, you can't spend this money for anything else. Saving this money, you're not gonna, it's just gonna sit over there and grow mold. It's, the voters said to do this, and if you don't do it, you're going against the voters.
right?
So,
And the other thing to think about is this is an assurance that it's going to be spent on something that is going to benefit the community. Because, I mean, obviously, I would think a fire truck, most of the citizens would think that fire trucks and police cars benefit the community. Whereas if something were to change within the next, somewhere down the line during this course of collecting this sales tax that's approved for capital equipment, theoretically you could get an entirely new set of commissioners that want to spend it on ice cream trucks.
Okay.
And you couldn't do anything about it because that's what they want to spend it on. Am I right?
Well,
At least now we know that it's going to be spent on something that's going to benefit the community.
that is correct. And you got to realize that these sales tax is for a definite period. And I don't know when this one expires.
Long
But
after we're gone.
I think it was originally for 15 years.
Okay. Well, just, let me close with one thing. Stephanie, the money, we need a new fire truck. I love trucks, okay? I love stuff. We need one, I know that. I'm convinced. But just so the public and we understand this money that's coming out of this portion, is there anything else that we really got to have the money for?
There's
That's going to be an issue later?
There's also a budget in there for police cars each year. I was looking to see what else is in.
Are we good with all that, is my next question. I mean,
You'd have to ask Quinn where we set on police.
I know that spending this much in one chunk is difficult to do. But, you know, even though fire trucks cost more, they have a purpose, and they're there for the service.
I understand.
So,
that.
and it's
I
not
do.
that we come and ask for this every, you know, every year or every 2 years.
That truck that you've got, does it bring anything like for a little town, will it sell to a little town, I mean like Tyro or a smaller town, a rural, will it bring $10,000 or $20,000 just out of
I have
curiosity?
no idea. You know, it's really not recommended, you know, that you use that as a frontline vehicle after 15 years. It's not a law, but it's a standard that the fire service is evaluated on and looked at.
So there's not, you don't know if there's a market for it or not, I'm just curious. That's something we talk about later.
Well, if that's
Never-
something that you want us to do, we could, you know, we're talking a year down the road, we could
Yeah.
try to sell it, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's something we can talk about later, James, but I'm sure there's a market for, you know, trucks that cost $500,000 new, some little town's gonna want it, you know, and get, you know,
Well, you-
20,000,
keep in mind-
15,000 or something out
Keep
of
in
it.
mind, this was in ’85, so it was a lot less than $500,000, the cost of this.
I know, but replace it.
Right.
So that truck, is it doing, that fire truck, that pumper truck, is it doing the job now?
Yeah, it's doing the job.
So
It's
it's-
doing the job now as far as pumping. It's not doing the job because we don't allow firefighters to ride in the back of it.
I don't-
And at least to plan the way we're doing, the way, what you're talking about, the way to have a piece of equipment worth something when you get ready to buy new is to have a vehicle equipment replacement plan so that you replace that before it wears out, before it becomes obsolete.
Okay, well, I think we've talked about it enough. Any more questions?
I don't have any. I move to approve Resolution 16-87.
Second.
Man, you gotta beat me to that.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Castler to approve resolution number R-16-87 for adoption. Commissioner Martin?
Aye.
Commissioner Castler?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay. Got a new fire truck coming. That will be nice. Resolution, that's the next page. Resolution number 6 is resolution number R-16-88. It's a resolution to execute a stadium use agreement with the Caulfield Community College Veterans Memorial Stadium. City Manager Kendall Francis will make comments.
Vice Mayor and Commissioners, in May, you directed me to notify CCC that you wish to not allow this stadium lease to automatically renew. And you directed me to negotiate with the college to better define and clarify the lease, specifically in reference to maintenance of Veterans Memorial Stadium, which I did. Staff and I met on multiple occasions with President Moley and her staff, and this last time her board chairman also met with us to try to come up with a better definition for what maintenance should, who was in charge of what maintenance. In front of you, you should have a red-lined copy of our original lease agreement. And if I could call your attention to number 11.
So the stuff in red is what it was before?
Correct. That's
Okay.
the original lease agreement.
It's been in place for how long?
It was first adopted in 2000, this one was 2011.
Okay.
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 And some of the real sticking point to it was the vagueness of the wording. It it said that the college should make routine improvements and repairs, and it's hard to define what routine means, that it was caused by normal use. And so I offered wording, and you'll see that in blue, to better define what those types of routine maintenances would include. And some of the other things that are included in this paragraph also talk to the college providing a detailed list of maintenance that they perform at the college per your request. They would provide a detailed list of maintenance activities on a quarterly basis, and also a list of who did that maintenance. We spoke also about damage caused by other parties, and that we wanted to clearly define our abilities to recoup any monies lost caused by damage or neglect. And as you'll see, the wording addresses that. One of the main annual maintenance things that happens there at the stadium is the winterization of the stadium, and for lack of a better word, de-winterization of the stadium. And staff and I discussed with President Moley and her staff a way that we could jointly perform these duties. There were some issues with them possibly having the technical knowledge to do this and the equipment that would be required to perform these duties. And this language would allow that we would jointly do those work. They would provide staff, and we would provide staff, and we would also provide specifically the air compressor that would take to blow out the water lines, prevent freezing, things like that when you winterize the stadium. Also, we decided that it would be best if we could, in conjunction, could do a walkthrough at both winterization and de-winterization times. We could do a walkthrough and make a detailed list of the maintenance that would be required, and at that time we would be able to sit down and determine who would be responsible for those maintenance issues and who would be responsible for payment of those issues. I also, you had asked that we would do a one-year lease agreement. They have requested that we make it 2 years, and that's what the wording reflects right now, that it would be a 2-year lease agreement. And also, they have requested that the notification period would move from 30 days to 90 days, because honestly, in this time frame, the 30 days, we gave them 30 days notification that we did not want to renew and we wanted to renegotiate. It has really put a crunch on both parties to try to get this accomplished. Obviously, they have football that will be starting very soon, and we want to make certain that we can, each time that it comes up for renewal, that we have time to make necessary adjustments. So I would entertain questions, I guess.
So you've worked on this more than we have.
I think that's fair to say.
And so you think what do you think? You think it's
I personally believe this is better than what we had. I have thought all along that it never hurts to sit and look at what you're doing and make sure you're doing things with best practices. I personally didn't have a lot of heartburn with the original contract. There's some things that could be tweaked, and to protect them and to protect us, clarification of maintenance. When you use a word like routine and normal use, those things are hard to define. So if we can try to put some examples with that to detail what we should be doing. But I look at this as we're the landlord. It's a property we own, and if I was renting a property from someone, if I needed to, in their case, if the elevator broke, I would probably look to my landlord to repair that. I wouldn't say that that's normal use. But some of the everyday maintenance, if I wanted to paint the wall, I would probably think that, I would be okay to paint the wall. If the air conditioning broke, I would expect my landlord, that would be an expense that they would want to pay, that person would pay for, and not me as the renter. That's how I was looking at this contract from the beginning. But I got a lot of input from Jim Bradshaw. He was with me during the negotiations. He has a good understanding of what work that we have to do there. And I can give you a very simple example. We had a leak in a sink. The pipe broke in a sink. It was leaking. However, it was behind the concrete block wall. Now, a reasonable person might think that they could have fixed that, but the way the stadium is built, you literally had to cut a hole in the brick wall to access the piping. And that's something where we work together. Our staff cut the hole in the brick wall, made the repair. Their staff is doing something to cover the hole in the wall, because we don't, it's not really our forte, but they're able to build a cover and make it look presentable. So I just think if we utilize some common sense, but obviously we're not always going to be here, the ones dictating this, so I think it's good to have something in writing that future commissions and the board of the college can look at and point to. So.
Well, we're kind of out of time to do much more, it sounds like.
I think that we definitely did a better job at defining maintenance. And I think that was, quite frankly, I think that was my goal from the beginning when I brought this up, because I thought that of no fault of anybody, it's just it was confusing on the maintenance, and it was left open to each person's interpretation. I think this does a better job of spelling out what's expected of both parties, and that way, if something does break out there, it is more likely that we're not in a situation to where parties are saying, well, we thought you were going to fix it, and the other party said, well, we thought you were going to fix it, and meanwhile, half the structure has fallen down because everybody thought someone else was going to fix it. And I think that was the goal of this commission from the beginning, to open that up to negotiations so we could get that more defined. Feel better that it's better defined in this contract if we so choose to accept it.
Why don't we, I'd rather do a year than 2 years. Because quite frankly, I haven't had time to really understand this. And I know the payments are $580,000 a year.
And there'll be $580,000 a year till it's paid off, regardless if you have a
$580,000
contract
a
or
year.
not.
We're paying for it. The citizens of Coffeyville, instead of, I don't quite understand where all this money comes from. I'd rather do a year, and so we can look at this a little closer.
Well, specifically, this money comes from the utilities for the payment of the stadium, electric utilities. The reasoning to stay away from a year is because that puts us back in line with election cycles. And if you look at the original contract, it was for 3 years and then renew every 2 years, because that would prevent it from falling renewal on an election. And I would agree with President Moley that that's probably better to stay off that. Now, the Kansas legislature may change the election cycle again, and we'll be back on 2 years. So and that was the compromise for asking for 2 years. I'd rather do 2 or 5, but again,
Okay.
it's still
I understand.
your decision.
I
It was
understand.
something, I did originally ask them for the 1 per year instructions, and they countered with 2. They
What is the significance of trying to stay away from an election year?
because you have a change in philosophies. If your commission was to turn over, then someone else has another theory about how that stadium should be ran or what should happen, and it would just make things run a little smoother. A new commissioner may need a little time to better understand the relationship.
But
How
it's,
about you?
I needed more time. We didn't really talk about it enough. We didn't have enough meetings on it, for me. I mean, I don't feel like I'm up to snuff on the whole thing. I think we should have met more, talked more, because I just don't quite understand everything about it. I mean, I really don't.
I'd
It's
be
better,
willing-
yes, it's better than what we had before, but to me, I just don't understand enough, and guess we can wait another 2 years and look at it again.
well,
I know-
another way to look at it is 2 years gives you a long time to study gives you 2 years to study the situation.
We need to start a little sooner in the process. And I don't know how we meet.
I would agree, and that's why they offered.
And you're relatively new too, Kendall. You know, you-
Absolutely.
You know, so, okay.
You understand it?
I believe that I do. I wrote it.
Okay.
Now I'll remind you that if you agree to this, then we'll give this to the college for them to present to their board for their approval as well.
They might sweeten the pie a little bit.
They might.
Okay. One thing I wasn't going to say in public about this, but I've decided I will, is this thing's paid off when?
2021?
So that's 5 years.
Yes.
This is 2 years of that. Then we have 3 years left, okay? It's something to think about what we're going to do at the end of that 5 years.
That's why my suggestion was either it's 2 years or it's 5 years
Yeah.
for a contract.
And that's really more what I'm interested in talking about and knowing more about. And
Well,
I
and
need
that's,
to get educated.
that's why it's
on that.
important that we define what maintenance is so that we're taking care of that structure, so when it's paid off in 5 years, we still have something worth utilizing.
At the end of 5 years, well, that's an asset the city owns. I want to know more about that. I won't take up any more time tonight. Thank you.
So I move to approve resolution number R16-88.
I'll second it.
A motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-16-88 for adoption. Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Okay, number 7, are these working, Roy, right? Are these working? Okay. Number 7, resolution R-16-89 is a resolution to issue a purchase order to Safe Slide Restoration for the repair and painting of 2 water slides at the Coffeyville Aquatic Center. Public Works Director Jim Bradshaw will make comments.
Vice Mayor
I'm
and
sorry.
Commission, I'll be making some
Okay.
comments about this.
Okay.
And just quite simply, this is what we talked about in
Right.
budgets
Okay.
last night, and then we have allocated the monies per your instruction on this repair, as well as some other repairs we'll be bringing to you regarding the aquatic center. The current slides, the sliding surface, are past their useful life and are now dangerous, And for us to utilize them next swim season, they'll need to be made, repairs will need to be made to them. And what you have before you is from the bid from Safe Slide Restoration in the amount of $58,800. We're recommending that you approve that.
Okay.
So I have a question. You said that these slides are dangerous. Are they dangerous now, or are they dangerous if they continue to be used?
Dangerous. They will last this season, but to continue past this season would not be safe.
So they're not dangerous.
There's not danger now. No.
Right.
Well, is there any way we can look at them at the end of this season and make sure we can't get one more season out of them?
I would say no.
We didn't talk about this last night, but just a thought that came across my mind.
I
A
don't
lot of
thi-
money.
And it'll be a lot of money next year as well. The answer simply is no.
Okay, okay. I haven't looked at them.
And the reason for having to do this now is so that we can be on their, that we can have those repairs made by the time we open next year.
Okay. Okay. All righty, any more questions?
I don't have any more questions.
You don't have any, Smiley?
I was just thinking maybe you should go out there and go down and let us know when you're gonna do that.
Hey, when I was your age, I did, okay?
I would make a motion to take a break and go do that right now.
And take the cameras along with
I
you.
move to
Okay.
approve resolution number R16-89.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution number R-16-89 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye. Sorry. Okay. I'll make a motion to take a break for 10
Second.
minutes.
Second.
Sure.
Okay. Meeting back to order, and it's time for discussion on the CRMC Board of Trustees. I will say that we do have Neil Barkley, President of the Board of Directors, here to join us tonight, and Deborah, I forgot Deborah's last name. Eventroll's here. We welcome them here as well. How do we start this off?
Vice Mayor Commission, if I could, now obviously I wasn't here at the last meeting, but it's my understanding that you had asked that the CRMC boards, both directors and trustees, give some input in regards to the questions that you had. And just yesterday, we received a letter from Mark Woodring that addresses some of those. It's a response to some of the questions we have. However, just late today, we received a couple of new pieces of information. One, which you should have a one-page copy, is of the Articles of Incorporation for CRMC Inc. And then the other that we have is a copy of the bylaws for the Board of Trustees, and that will help make some more sense of Mark Woodring's letter, as he referenced some things in there. He referenced the bylaws and some other language that, quite frankly, I didn't understand at the time. And we can pursue this in a number of different ways, but a couple things I might recommend that we take a little time and digest this. There appears to be some inconsistencies with the bylaws and the Board of Trustees compared to the ordinance that created the board, specifically in their ability. One just off the top is, it appears that they have given themselves the ability to remove Board of Trustee members, which is inherent duty of the commission, which is spelled out in this ordinance. So there are some confusing languages in there.
In all honesty, do we need to worry about we don't have any control over the Board of Directors.
The Board of Directors, no. This is
So we're just
strictly
worried about
the Board of
our
Trustees.
half of it.
The Board of Trustees, correct. And that's what this is. This is the bylaws for the Board of Trustees. And the Articles of Incorporation, the reason that you have that in front of you, because it answers one of the questions that we have.
First of all, I just want to clear something real quick that Commissioner Martin just brought up. We're not concerned with the how they govern their board of directors. However, because that's their governing body.
Correct.
Our stake in the game is the Board of Trustees. But did you just say that the Board of Directors could remove?
No, the Board of, if I did, I mistakenly said that the Board of Trustees in their bylaws says that they may determine, or let me read the entire thing. Any trustee who absents himself from 2 consecutive regular board meetings without justifiable excuse, in the opinion of the majority of the board voting thereon, may be subject to disciplinary action as a majority of the board voting thereon may determine, including but not exclusively removal from the board.
No, they can't do that, correct?
Again, we received this about 2 hours ago, right before the meeting. Paul and I haven't had much time to really talk about that, but my immediate response would be no, that they've given themselves authority that our ordinance would supersede their bylaws.
I don't think that we got part of the copy.
Yeah, we don't have what you
That is, we only, because it's a 10-page document, the Articles of Incorporation. The bylaws are equally as long, and we have not made you a copy of that yet. And again, the reason I presented you with the Articles of Incorporation, you'll see a highlighted area, because it specifically speaks to one of the questions we had, and that was the number of Board of Trustees who could also serve as Board of Directors.
Now, is this our paper or is their paper?
It is the Articles of Incorporation
Of
of the CRMC, Inc.
which isn't us.
No, but it speaks to the requirements for their Board of Directors.
But it also says that, what, 3?
A minimum of 4 of the Board of Directors shall be residents of the city of Coffeyville, and 3 of those residents shall be from the Board of Trustees.
And one of our questions was whether or not we wanted to allow trustees to be on the board of directors.
Correct.
So that answers that question, but right now, so we're good with that, as the way that it's written now. They haven't done anything that's
Other
out
than
of kilter.
Other than they have 4 instead of 3.
That was going to be my next point,
Right.
other than they're over extended on their members.
So this is their corporation, not.
Right, I'm just saying, as of right.
We still have the question as whether or not we even wanted that to be that way.
Well,
Right.
I believe that's true. And that's why I said, these things have made, this new information has made this even more confusing than it was. That, you know, it may be best if we take a little time and digest this and make certain that we understand how all these interplay. And really, what is the superseding power of all of those?
Well, I'll say right now, I don't even want to discuss it without reading
What you got?
what they provided us, because I don't think I can carry on a educated conversation about something I haven't even seen or read yet.
Right.
Is there something to extend all this till next time, or?
Well, we have, Neil's here, and he sat through this thing for 2.5 hours.
Well,
And I don't know if he'd be available next time. Is there anything you need to say or ask, Neil, while you're here? I mean, I agree with what you're saying,
But we're not even going to know what's in that to even
Right.
understand what he's
But-
possibly talking about.
but you had concerns. You guys had concerns, and Neil's here, and he travels a lot, and I didn't know if there's, you know,
Well,
while you're
I'm not
here.
a trustee, so I really can't speak to,
Right.
what evolved and how they got to where they're at today in terms of that. I just want to say that the hospital board takes the responsibility very seriously. And if you look at what we have for hospital, how it's been built up over the years through the actions of the board of directors and through the actions of the CEO, we've got a fine hospital here. And I think we certainly, when you see what happened down the road to our neighbors, you can really appreciate that. I appreciate certainly the voters have helped us by agreeing to the extended sales tax. They helped pay for the last expansion. They're going to help pay for our future as we move forward. But the hospital's reinvested a lot of the money that they've made over the years back into the hospital to make it the fine facility it is. Radiation oncology, the best in the area by far. Some of the best physicians around, building up the physician staff. We're doing things to be here for the long haul, to be partners with the city, with the community, to have the best hospital possible. And if there are things we can do to improve our governance, we're all about that. We again, want to work with the city to make sure that we tried to answer the questions that were brought up, and I understand how that works. Sometimes that raises more questions than it answers, but certainly we'll come back to the table and do what we can. If you can write the questions out, specific things that you're after, I'm sure that the trustees, I know Stan is very willing to be involved as the president of the trustees, to chairman of the trustees, to try to answer questions in terms of what they do and how they work through their organization. The fact that there's members on both boards is a good thing. That gives the city, through the trustees, a reach to the board as the operating entity. And so that's a good thing. That helps close that loop and keep the city involved. I think some of our best members are those trustees that have been appointed by the city over the years. They're people that live and work here and have a vested interest in what we do. So I'll answer questions if you have them.
I think you've said it real well. And I told you out there a little while ago when we were talking, that I really appreciated Mark but especially Stan being here last time, and really appreciate those guys being here and you being here so we can sort this all out and figure it all out.
Yep.
You know, somebody said in one of our strategic meetings the other day, John, our counselor, it takes 3 years to learn how to be a city commissioner, and I'm learning it's coming to me. And this hospital thing now too is everything, the sales tax we went through and everything. And I appreciate you being here. You guys got any more questions?
Did
Anything?
you read the letter that was sent to us?
Yes, I helped draft it.
Okay, two of the exceptions I have is, in it, you have a problem with the ex officio.
We don't have a problem, it's just not in our bylaws to allow that, but certainly it's open meetings and city commissioners, city manager, the public's welcome to come to the meetings.
But as a commissioner, I know well and good that there are certain things that we get to know that the public does not have it.
Certainly, and as a governing board, we have executive sessions just as much as you do to talk about personnel issues and certain things that might have legal ramifications that are not really for the public purview. So we do have executive sessions that would be closed to some of those outside people, including others that sit in normally.
The other thing was, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys wanted to interview potential trustee people?
We just offered to do that if you would like us to. I don't know that, there's no requirement for that. I know that Stan and the trustees had mentioned that they would be willing to do that if that's what you want.
And that's one of the things that is mentioned in the Board of Trustees bylaws. It says that the Board of Trustees may interview qualified candidates and urge them to apply to the city governing body for appointment to the Board of Trustees. It goes on to spell out essentially what you should be looking for. And again, it'll be important for you guys to have this, to read through it and digest it. But that, like I said, once you have seen the bylaws, then more of the letter makes sense, because when they referred to bylaws and some of those things, we didn't know what they were referring.
Qualifications?
Number 2 talks about using the term doctor, when in actually the creation document, the ordinance uses the term physician. The bylaws uses the term doctor. So there's discrepancies there. And so that, and clarifying physician was one of the things that we wanted to do. We wanted to know, when it says only one physician, did that mean only one acting physician, one physician employed by CRMC, however, but then you use the term doctor, and that muddles it even further. So I just think it would be important for you guys to take time. We'll provide you with the bylaws to help you understand that, and we'd either come back as a group and invite Mr. Eli and the rest of the Board of Trustees, or should you choose, could reach out to him and try to set up a meeting with him and myself, or the Board of the Trustees and myself, and possibly Paul if he's available, see if we could work through this. I'm open for your direction.
My suggestion would be is that we obtain that document and we'll get back with you.
Sure.
The thing is I feel like we all want to be on the same page. And right now, quite frankly, I don't think we know what page we're on this deal, because we haven't received all the information.
Sure, well, and we've been going along fat, dumb, and happy for a lot of years.
Right. And the thing is,
struggling to make healthcare continue to be viable in this community, and by bringing it to the vote of the people, we've brought it out in the forefront. So we brought it upon ourselves to have the additional scrutiny, and that's good. That's good for any organization to make sure that everything's up front and you're doing it as proper. If our bylaws don't quite line up, time to review them and update them. They're reviewed every year, but you know how those things are. You look at it and say, yeah, I don't see any need for change now. But obviously, there's some areas there that could use some cleaning up.
And I think that, I can't speak for this commission as a whole. However, I think I can speak confidently for myself. The thing is that this is not a turnover hunt type of, let's look for a problem. This is a exploring where we can do things differently as far as what we've done in the past. Because it's obvious that, number one, like I said, we're not on the same page because, quite frankly, we don't know what's even in these documents. Number two, I don't want to see happen to us, and you brought it up earlier, what happened to our sister city to the north. And the thing is that the only way that we can foresee trouble is if we don't have our heads stuck in the sand. And if there's trouble to be had, you'd much rather know about it sooner than you would later, and know that everyone's working on the same team to prevent that type of situation from happening. Does that make sense?
You bet. No, we all want to be proactive and stay ahead of the game so we don't get behind the eight ball as
Exactly.
the neighbors.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Thank you for coming,
All right.
Neil.
Thanks for your comments, Chris.
Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you too, Deborah. So does that conclude that part of it?
I'm
Well-
done.
Okay.
I think we need to know how you'd like to proceed, what the best way you'd like to proceed would be.
We're going to read that document and get back with them.
We all need that in
Okay.
our email box.
And I want the public to know that I wrote a letter to the editor of my feelings about this, and I think it'll be in Saturday's paper, or Wednesday's paper, okay? It'll be my 7th letter to the editor. Okay. What's I do with the,
Did you send that to us?
no,
Okay.
I could.
Were you saying that you spoke from your perspective?
Yeah, I wrote a letter to the editor about my feelings about this situation.
I'm just saying in the past, we haven't had that luxury for some other past commissioners.
We haven't,
No.
did I do something wrong or something?
No, I was just wondering, you said that you wrote a letter to the editor about your feelings on this
A week-
situation.
right.
I mean, the thing is what are your feelings on this situation? Or do I have to wait till it
No,
comes out in the
I-
paper?
I think you ought to wait in lieu of time.
Okay.
I mean,
I'd like to hear you.
I submitted a week ago. Well, I talked about the Board of Trustees and Board of Directors working together and having members on each board, because that was discussed.
Uh-huh.
And I thought it would be transparent. I talked about that. And I talked about,
You don't want the trustees on the board of directors?
no, I want them on there. It's in the bylaws, and I think it's a good thing. I think it's transparent. I think it's good for the city. Now, this letter was written a week ago, submitted to Sean, a week ago, and it didn't get published, but it's going to be published Saturday. Just for the record, I didn't want somebody, the reason I mentioned it tonight, I didn't want someone thinking I went and put it in there in the last few hours or tomorrow. I also talked about the job I think the hospital's doing, and back that up with a few words, okay, how I felt personally about how I feel the hospital's doing.
Excellent.
I mean, it's in a letter, and you can, I thought it was a nice letter.
I'm
Done?
sure it is.
So, anyway, I can copy it to you in the morning if you want to get it quicker.
That'd be great.
I'll do that.
I'd like to see it.
I can do that. Okay, city manager's report.
I might want to write my own letter.
Well, I just wanted, the only reason I mentioned it tonight is because I didn't want someone thinking that I wrote it after tonight's meeting.
Right.
It preceded that. That's why I mentioned it, okay? City manager.
Vice Mayor and Commission, just a few quick things. I know in the interest of time, we want to get on to budget review. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone that helped make summer celebration just a tremendous success. But specifically to Gail Smith, Mike Bradley, and Andy Duncan. I think it was kind of their brainchild. And
Will you repeat those names again, please?
Gail Smith, Mike Bradley, and Andy Duncan.
Okay.
And if you attended, you'll know what I mean. That it was a tremendous success, a day filled with activities. We had a lot of people in Coffeyville, and capped it off with just a spectacular fireworks display. And so we hope that that's the first of many years to come. So just a thank you to them. I will let you know we received the audit. The auditors will be here on the 26th to review that with us, and I will be sending you an electronic copy of that probably Friday, weekly report, just so that you can have a chance to review it between now and the 26th.
Audit, this is the audit for what?
Last year's financials.
Okay.
Okay. Let you know that we are in the process of putting out for bids for roof repair for the city rec. It's been kind of a process coming, but we finally got the specs put together, and we'll let bids for that. Safe routes to school. I know we've talked a little bit about that here in the last couple of meetings. It was put on the program for KDOT, and Chuck Shively spoke with the project manager who was assigned to that, and now he's telling us that it could take several months for the grant agreement to get back to us, but he says a lot of people go ahead and start the planning process even before the agreement gets back to us. There's a slight risk in doing that we may expend some funds. But once it's been programmed, it's pretty certain it's going to happen. So we'll be following up to see what our next step is. It'll have to do with hiring a consultant, and we don't know if there's guidelines or if we can just choose whichever consultant we prefer. So Chuck will be following on that. Kind of give you a quick update on the Perkins building. We haven't had too many issues until this morning's rain, and then a couple of new leaks have seemed to have appeared, and we have it may be in conjunction with the new windows that were placed on the bottom, so the contractor will be back in the morning, meet with him we'll show him where the water was coming through, because I don't think it was that unusual of a rain, but something occurred today that was different than it has.
You're going to get out the water hose or what?
Probably will not this time. We have done that, and we've identified areas on one side, but this is actually seeping in at the floor level.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's unusual. So something that we're, but. I have been in contact again with some of the restorations. They've been slow in responding, so I have not seen any official updated bids on what that will entail. But once we do, then we're going to need to sit down and discuss that on how we will proceed with what ever works need to be done to that building. So. Let you know we did receive the Whitaker list, which is the list of companies that would be looked to expand for manufacturing specific to the Southwire building. This is the one that we had the cost sharing with Montgomery County and Colliers as far as prospective companies that might be interested in expanding to Southwire. Chuck had already talked a little bit about street projects, specifically on 9th Street. If you were out at the fireworks, you'll know that the intersection there at 8th Street, at least on the west or east side, was opened up, and there were supposed to be some more concrete pours at that intersection, but the rain delayed that. We believe that we're still on schedule to have it open by Fair and Rodeo, but it's going to, you know, if it continues to rain and delay us, that may prove to be an issue, but the plan is still to have it open in time for Fair and Rodeo.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, that will be big. Whoops.
Was there a time schedule on that, or?
Yeah, I believe it was August 15th. Chuck, is that August 15th for? And then August 15th for complete, do cleanup and everything. Yeah. Yeah, the original was July 15th to have it done, and then August 15th to have all the
Okay.
cleanup and everything done. So we're,
Fair and Rodeo starts when?
I believe, August 6th.
Oh, wow.
So we'll be pressing there, but opening up the 8th Street intersection will help, and I think they should be ready. You know,
Oh, the 8th
before it's
Street
done.
will be open?
Well, the one side is now, the one that goes to the east into Walter Johnson Park. Well, that was
We might
opened
have
up
to
this
have
weekend.
Special traffic control out there those nights. We always do, but with that thing, I don't know, we're gonna think about that.
Well, as we get closer to time and have a better understanding of what the situation will be, we'll make those preparations. I would like to have a discussion at the next meeting, the July 26th meeting, about City Hall, kind of update you and get you up to speed of where we're at. And so we'll be, staff and I will be meeting tomorrow and start putting together a little bit more information forthcoming to where we are at this point with City Hall renovations. And so we'll try to keep the rest of the agenda fairly light, and then we can have some time to discuss City Hall.
So when will that be? I'm sorry.
The next meeting.
Oh, the next meeting.
26th.
Okay.
And I believe that that's all I have for right now. I'd entertain questions.
Where are we at on the new fire and police? Just short and sweet.
Short and sweet, and you'll hear probably a little bit of this, but the price per square foot right now is more than we expected it to be. We're double checking, we're trying, but some of the numbers that they've provided us, Crossland has provided us, don't seem to add up. And so I've requested a meeting with Crossland, that they would come here and explain some of their findings. We're also, we have the design, the preferred design for the building, and we're trying to verify the price per square foot number that they've provided us. I believe the blue ribbon panel, their estimation was about $150 a square foot, roughly. We never believed that to be accurate. We expected it to be closer to 180 or to 200, and it's come in over that currently. We have made some reductions to the size of the building, but we need a little time to verify and have Crossland explain the numbers that they've provided us, because quite honestly, some of them, as we were studying them even today, we saw discrepancies with the numbers they provided that didn't calculate out.
Okay.
So hopefully that it proves to be inaccurate. But
Could you send us the floor plan via email, or is it too
Yes.
big, or what?
I don't think it would be too big. I'm sure we can do that.
Can we have that by, like, within the next day or so?
I can have it to you in the morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
How about the bid proposals? Do we get a copy of that, or
Of what bid proposal?
any kind of bid? You got bid proposals, didn't you, on the new fire and police?
The cost per square foot come from Crossland, who is running the design build team, and so we have not put it out for official bids yet.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
almost like the engineer's estimates, so to speak. But
Okay.
so, other questions?
Yeah, but if there's any more, guys? back to the deal with the fireworks, you know, I did not get to attend this year. I was gone. I heard so much good about it, and there's been a little discussion. We talked about it a little bit last night in budget, but we really didn't talk about it as a whole. And I didn't have a chance to talk to Gail today, but I got some information back, and my dad actually talked to him, and I know that he spent a lot of money, and I think I'm going to try to do something. I want the public to know that I want to try to do something to get some corporate sponsorship or something going for that. I guess it was such a success, and it always has been, but this year was better for some reason. And I don't know how we approach that, what the best way to approach that is. Like I said, I personally did not talk to Gail about it, but these things cost, you know, $40,000 or $50,000 to put together and do. And I think the city really doesn't have the money, and I'd like to see some kind of a private deal go on it. I wanted to make it public tonight so the word would spread. And I don't know if I'm personally going to be calling and how we can do that. If anybody got any ideas, I'd like to hear from them. I'm going to be talking to Gail tomorrow if I can and see what we can do.
Okay.
That's all I have. But a motion to close.
Make a motion.
Second.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Commissioner Martin to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, staff. Thank you, fellers.